A couple of things I would like to just highlight as food for further thought, supplementing the remarks of the minister. The first is the importance of focusing not just on technical skills, but also focusing on mindsets. This issue of combination of skill sets, the technical skills, and mindsets. And when I think of mindsets, I think of things like a commitment to excellence. Whether you're committed as an academic to your students and providing excellent education, or whether you're a workman or journeyman excellent. Is this working? Committed to excellent workmanship. So again, it covers the whole range from teaching at the university level all the way down to the carpenter and the electrician and the mechanical engineer. It includes things like a focus on customer and customer service. It includes things like integrity, doing what you say you're going to do and delivering on what you say you're going to deliver. It includes hard work, strong work ethic. It includes accountability. It includes things like proactive problem solving. All of these things, as everyone in this room knows, are the mindsets that are important to success, that go hand in hand with the skill sets. They also happen to be a lot harder to instill and to teach. They're a lot harder to instill and to teach than the technical skills that we deliver in education. At the School of Public Service, we talk about them as core competencies, your skill sets, and core values are your mindsets. The second thing I'd like to highlight, in addition to that combination, is another combination, which is literacy and numeracy. And Honorable Dr. John talked about literacy and the importance of strong English skills, and I would add to that the importance of strong mathematics skills, regardless of the profession or the vocation that the student is going into. I think strong math skills are critically important, and in many cases we haven't done as good a job as we should in teaching people the math skills that they need. The last point that I would make is it gets back a little bit to the technical and mindset point, but all of those wonderful ideas, many of which are already being implemented now through the ministry, require not just teachers and academics, but they require strong managers and leaders. The implementation requires planning and budgeting and follow-through, oversight of the execution, and that requires strong management and leadership skills. So it's not enough, for instance, just to train up teachers. You also have to train up academic administrators and academic managers to help oversee these many very important initiatives. So I think with that, Dr. Luell, I've stayed under my 10 minutes, and I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you very much. That's a good point. You know, I was the Minister of Petroleum for 11 months. And I wanted to produce for the petroleum 1,000 South Sudanese per year. And I had persuaded the Chinese to take 300, the Indian 300 per year, and the Malaysian 400. But when I left the ministry, of course, because of the separation, and we were going to get from 100 from each state. But then, as just you said, clients, when there are no leaders or managers to implement them, they just come papers on the shelf. But we have seen the young man, John. I was among the 85 people who were taken to South Africa at the time.
I remember.
And I was attached to the Minister of Finance in South Africa. We spent a week. And that was a good experience, I think, which we should encourage.
Praise the Lord. أنا مشكورة الليلة ده أنا جيت قدامكم هنا ده أول مرة لي في إيبوني. أنا بشكر إيبوني وأنا بشكر دكتور لوال وبابا بتاع الأطفال بتاعنا جون اللي هو معلم كبير بيشوف ورا الشاب والشباب والشابات. So أنا بسلمكم وأنا بشكركم. الكلام بتاعي كله أنا عندي واحد من جروب بتاعي بوريكم ان احنا واقفين الليله معاكم هنا بشنو، وعندنا يوث هنا معاكم برضو ونسوان القعدات بقادي. الليله انا بشكركم ونشوفوا كلام بتاعنا معاكم كمان ونقولوا الكلام كله. شكرا.
Thank you very much. I am Francis from Kenya, born Ugandan, working around East Africa with around 3 governments on the Department of Youth and Development, that is in Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. Right now, I'm here in South Sudan working with the lady entrepreneur, Mama Wool, who upon our research found was working with the National Youth Council of Uganda on skills development. When I came around, we have introduced resources utilization for jobs creation as a way of creating jobs for South Sudanese people. And we are doing this through identifying the resources we have in this country. One, we are aware that around here we have a lot of what we call lulu oil, shea oil, but then we are importing shea products from other countries. We have a lot of cow owns, but we are importing cow own products from other countries. And we have several other raw materials that can be used as we add value to them and produce goods that can be exported from this country to other countries. And I think, like, out of my experience in Kenya and Uganda, Rwanda, and Zimbabwe, if we do this, it will support what Dr. John was saying, the system that they are working on as a way of restructuring the education system. I have seen that with what we have, whether we are working with the literate or the illiterate, rural or urban areas, we can skill these people through a program which can be supported by both the private sector and the government. How do we do this? Many people might not believe that it is very easy to train someone who neither knows how to read or to write to make, for instance, soap. But when you go to China and other countries, you'll find that these cottage industries have been ways through which they have created a number of employment for the people or for their populace. So, like of recent in April this year, we conducted training here in Juba for over 45 youth and women joined for 3 days. And in those 3 days, we were capable of skilling these people on how, for instance, making candles, soaps, detergents, disinfectants, and so on. And I found that whether they know how to read or not, they can get these skills and then start immediately. Because when you show them that, for instance, ladies plait, and after plating, when they unplait their hair, they throw away the synthetic fibers. But when we were in South Africa, we were collecting these synthetic fibers, washing them with detergent, drying them up, and then use them for making cushions. And those cushions are very expensive. But here, they're being thrown away. In Uganda, I introduced it through different institutions. And actually, some of the people have made through different universities where I've been presenting to help them find or create for themselves jobs. I found it works. It's the same way we can do. Instead of importing skills providers, we can import trainers, what we call TOTs. We can do training of trainers through importing those who have the skills that we need to give our people at different levels with different stakeholders, so we can create jobs for our people in South Sudan. This will help us reduce the level of redundancy amongst the youth, because if 73%, like the doctor said, are youth, that means if we empower even if half of them with practical skills, this will lead to not only employment of the youth, but also revenue to the government. Then we shall not need to open more as many prisons as possible because of the crime. All that cycle will be broken. This is a process we can take on as we partner with the current institutions, that is the colleges, the universities, the vocational institutions, plus the private sector, like the NGOs, where we can go into communities. I remember when I was in Turkana, Road to Pokot, I found these people were keeping bees, but they were selling honey so cheaply. So what I did, I showed them how to extract bee wax. Kenya was importing bee wax from India. I wondered why they should import bee wax from India and other countries, yet they are keeping bees. So I showed them how to extract the bee wax. When they extracted the bee wax, they started now exporting that bee wax to Uganda, see that? And other countries. And that's what I've done also in Uganda and other countries. So now I think it's the same way. When you go in Yei, they are keeping bees. But they're importing a lot of products that contain bee wax, like the floor polishes. So these are things I think in the 10 minutes we can work on. The objectives are, for the secretary, to equip the community, whether formally or informally, in partnership with both formal institutions and private sector, with practical skills, show them the financial management systems, show them where to market and how to brand the products, then let them start the businesses. In short, with the new dawn for trading company, I think private sector and public sector will come together to support these lady entrepreneurs as a way of skilling South Sudanese people. Thank you very much.
On what I do, actually I'm a high school. Maybe I should say proper, but not yet. I use my time to do research at home, building aircraft, mainly unmanned and man-powered aircraft. Maybe I don't waste my time so we can get straight to the point. That's my research room, where I normally do my invention. You can see some of my models that I design at home. So this is the first drone I designed. It's unmanned aerial vehicle, but I didn't have the system to power it up, the GPS and all that. Yeah. And what I'm holding there is the engine, gasoline engine, that is powering this aircraft. Though it may not be that much developed at that time, I was still moving on to my research, working and correcting my mistake. So after that, I built the second ultralight. It may not look much of a plane, because it's designed to go for low altitude. Actually, I use the idea of ultralight because these aircraft are designed for low altitude. They may not be fully, but they're for experimental mainly. Can move on. The same here, I'm showing the wingspan, 7 meters. The engine power is powered by 2 gasoline with the wooden propeller on each engine. These 2 engines can move my weight and plus the weight of the plane. So the total gross weight, it can handle it, but though it can't give me enough power to get me off the ground. So we can move on. I designed this on 27th October 2015. It's also an ultralight aircraft, but it's powered by 3 gasoline engines. As you can see, there are 2 in front here and 1 on top. It's also an experimental aircraft. It's for test, trying to see how it can behave and the engine handling the weight and getting it off the ground here. So we can move on. These are the measurements of the plane, the wingspan and all that here. So the engine details are here. 2 gasoline engine and wooden propeller on it that is powering it. Can move on. This is the fuselage. I normally use this for testing the engine horsepower to check what weight can it handle. So the fuselage is the body of the plane. It's where the wings, the stabilizers are attached. So it's where the pilot sits and the engine is attached here. So you can see the two engines on in front here. So there's a short video I'm testing my weight on it, seeing whether it can handle my weight on there. After testing the engine horsepower, before you build the plane, you normally carry out a test, check on which way it can move before you build the plane, so that you are sure of what you are doing. So after that, I built the plane using the two engine, but they are not enough, so I added the third one on top, which is up there, to check it on a short runway, the speed it will give me to get off the ground there. So this wasn't intended to fly, it was to test the speed on a short runway. See how can it perform. It gave me enough speed, but not that much that I expected. So I added the fourth engine to make it, to see what can it do to me. So you'll see it on the next video here. This is along this big pump road that I tested the 4 engine on. So if the engine gave me enough power, I'll have taken it off the ground. Actually, it was a little bit faster, it was better than the one before. So my challenge has always been engine, so you can move it. My challenge has always been the engine, the proper engine to use on the plane, designing it and all that, yeah. So one day I hope to get a better one after my studies and build better planes, yeah.
What is the study?
Pardon? Study? Actually, I finished Singapore. There's a colleague of mine here who we studied together at job. Maybe you can get up. Yeah. We work in South Sudan together. So after my high school, that's when I lost my dad and I didn't get opportunity to proceed with my studies. But instead of staying at home or joining any other institution, I started building my aircraft, research on the internet and do it practically. Use the little talent that I have to do something better. These are the cross-sectional view of the plane. Yeah? You can see different parts the way I build it.
Any chance to go to school?
Yeah, actually, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, John Guy, gave me scholarship last year, but most of the people expect me to be at school right now, is it? Yeah, but the people who we gave in charge to follow up with me, I think there's something playing around something like that. But we did this part actually, and still I hope so. Yeah. The letter they told me they'll call me, and I've been waiting, I've been patient enough until now. So we can move and see the research room. Go back. Here, when you are building a plane, you don't just, it's not a car, you need to know some principle about designing it. What you see there is a conventional shape of the wing. It's curved. You can see the under is flat and up is curved to create more pressure down. So as the relative wing comes, as it's moving, the engine powers, it gives it thrust. Thrust is the forward force that moves the plane forward, doesn't take it off. The wings is going to give it lift now. So when the wing is aerodynamically shaped, it creates less pressure, more pressure down, and less pressure up. First the wing which is up, okay, under the wings or the flat surface gives it much pressure than the above surface, which increases lift. So in order for you to get off the ground after gaining enough speed that you require, you need to introduce flaps, and we do have what we call elevators on the tail, the empennage of the plane. Then you pull it and you get it off the ground. After the engine giving you the required speed there, so you can move on. These are some examples of the drones I've designed. These are small drones. This one flew and it didn't come back because I didn't have. The signal, I didn't have a long range signal to control it back, so I lost it. So we can move on next. These are some examples. Next. section of the ring. This is the empinage.
In fact, I'm not going to take quite a long time. I would like to add some few info and comments, particularly on the presentation by Dr. John, and also what the Director General of Labor has put forward. I was so impressed to see into that Dr. John gave us the whole history, and he was so honest to say the plain truth that there is still a little bit of gap. People need to harmonize policy, to harmonize curriculum, and so forth. And I think we all agree from his presentation that every country, since we live in a dynamic world where there are always a lot of changes in all aspects, therefore we have to ensure we are not lagging behind. We have to move with the change that happens in every country. And if you look at what is happening in the Republic of South Sudan, a lot is being done, but yet we still lag a lot of things. You find sometimes we do not have policy, or if we do have the law, might be the regulation is still supposed to be made, and this makes actually the implementation of the law become quite difficult. Another thing is we have an issue like when it comes into the issue of harmonization. Like for instance, you find that the Ministry of Labor is supposed to ensure they look what is there in the labor market. How can we ensure we train our people to get them immediately on job? What kind of training do we have to provide? Now, when you come to a vocational training, which is actually being taken care of by the Ministry of Labor, here in the vocational training center, we give 70% is practical and 30% is theory. And normally the training that is being carried out is to answer what is happening in the labor market. And that is exactly what we are supposed to be doing. But you find that we have a lot of challenges. One, because of resources. We are very minimal resources. And when the government came in place, we were now coming with a lot of youth. They did not get even opportunity to go through the regular education. This is already a problem. And this is a team, if not given an opportunity, they will become a source of insecurity. As I think it was mentioned by Dr. John in his presentation. Therefore, as a government, what do? We know as a government we cannot, at this present point in time, for instance, we cannot be able to make sure there is a vocational training center in all the states available because of resources. And as a result of this, the Ministry of Labor have been encouraging the private training provider. Okay, if you are giving the private training provider to do the training, of course, you should not just leave everybody they open maybe vocational training center and start training. There has to be a policy. There has to be a guideline. There has to be uniformity in curriculum so that when they give the training to our citizens, they should give the right training. So in this aspect, what happened? The Ministry of Labor got together all those partners that are involved in vocational training, and we managed not only the Ministry of Labor working alone, but all the related government institutions. The Ministry of Education was also involved. The Ministry of Youth also involved. And any other government institution that is implementing vocational training at a very small scale, they were all brought together, and we managed to harmonize curriculum, which is now currently is given to all the vocational training providers who are private. Because as you heard from the Director General, we have only 5 public vocational training centers, which is active, which is being supported by the government. But this is just like a drop in an ocean. We all heard that skill development is one of the most important things. And for this matter, if you want to be in the labor market as fast as possible, you must ensure you provide the skills. We have, like those who goes, for instance, in technical secondary school. In technical secondary school, 30% is practical. 30% is practical, 70% is theory. And this is one of those kind of differences. That is to say, they would have the introductory part of any kind of trade that is supposed to take place in the vocational training centers. And the vocational training centers are supposed to have even an advanced stage of training. So far, as you might have already heard, for those who have visited our centers, we already have those who have done 2 years training. But we have a challenge, a very big one. Because we haven't, as Ministry of Labor, we do not have a council that deals with vocational training credentials. But of course, we are in discussion with the Ministry of Education to see how can we move with all this kind of thing. So I'm glad that Ebony Center has brought us all together so that we can discuss this. I was also moved when I saw the presentation by this organization called DAWN. Yes, New Dawn. You know, those are one of the things that we do always encourage as Ministry of Labor. That is resource utilization. There are a lot of things that we normally throw away, yet you can add value to those resources and it can make a difference. And this is one of the areas that we really need to work together with our development partners so that we can be able to get our people, our citizens, to be active in the labor market. Because if they are not given such kind of skills, it becomes so difficult. We all know that any government anywhere will never be able to employ all her citizens. And if that is the case, what do we need to do? We have to ensure they are given the right skills, because it is not even enough just to train people for the sake of training if they cannot utilize such kind of skills in the labor market. So it is quite important. And one thing that we need to work out, here we haven't yet started the issue of giving levy, because in some countries you find that different industries or different companies that could require certain skills for the utilization in their company, they give a certain percentage towards the training of those caliber. But this one we haven't yet started. However, with the policy of vocational training, which is already given to the council, and if it is endorsed, then we are likely to make a formation of council for vocational training, and this can actually help us a lot. And another last thing that also made me to be so encouraged, it came out on the issue of cooperative, formation of cooperative, because all these people that are being trained, they're supposed to form a cooperative so that any other opportunity like accessibility to microfinance, they can easily access and they can be able to do what is expected of them. I know under the Ministry of Labor, we are actually working closely like with UNIDO for life skill development. We are also working closely with the ILO. And all this we are doing because we would like to see that an individual, when given the right skills, should be able to be self-employed or should be able to be ready to join the labor market. Another last thing is that this innovation that has come from these young men is quite encouraging, and I think probably at a certain point as a government, people need to see how can we help, how can we encourage such kind of a brilliant innovation so that it can make a difference tomorrow, that this is what has come from a young gentleman from the Republic of South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ebony Center, for the opportunity you have created to discuss such a very, very important subject for South Sudan. And I thank the Honorable Minister for coming here himself to make a presentation and to also provide us with a lot of very useful information that would allow us to think on the way forward. I also thank the Undersecretary and the DG of the Ministry of Labor for the input, for the background information, for briefing us what has been done so far. So I thank you all very much. I work for UNESCO. I'm the Education Program Specialist. And I wanted to take this opportunity to inform partners here and also the audience as a whole that UNESCO as an organization that is the lead agency for education apart from the other ones is very much interested and very much eager also to try and be a part in this process, to assist. And as a UN organization, our concern is what could be done for South Sudan, not what could be done for one ministry or the other. That's not what everybody would also, I'm sure, think as. So sitting here listening, and also from what we are planning to do, has a lot of experience a lot of work that already has been done in the area of vocational training, but we have also been told at the same time that there is this specific target as an audience for the work that that ministry is doing. But believe me, this will eventually lead into a need for accreditation. It will raise questions and issues of harmonized curriculum, because what's done in one place should be comparable to what's done elsewhere, so that people can move around in the labor market, that they should not be considered that one having been trained here is lower in quality or quantity of the training given than there. And all these would require us to think of one harmonized, integrated document to lead the whole process. Now, TVET, because it appears in the formal system, belongs to the Ministry of Education, because there are certain requirements that somebody has to fulfill before they go into a training institution. Now, that seems to be the logic and the understanding I hear. And vocational education, because it may not even require any literacy or numeracy, or very little of it, could therefore open up a door to people of that kind. But I would like to think this is more of a temporary, short-term thing for South Sudan, because eventually, with the expansion of school enrollment, you would find the clients for vocational education to be those coming out of the formal schooling situation. So, if we can have a document that can integrate both, because you also have told us that it's not only the Ministry of Labor, it's also other line ministries. In fact, I have a list of 19 line ministries that have one form of or another of vocational training being given in South Sudan. Now, all these disparate attempts and efforts must be recognized, but at the same time must be harmonized too, must also come under some kind of a framework that would place all of them together. Because otherwise, it just wouldn't be a unified system we're talking about. And I therefore would like to invite partners and line ministries for a consultative workshop we are planning to have, that the invitations will be sent out very soon, where we meet, talk, and hopefully agree on the best way, not for me, not for him or her, but for South Sudan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thought
just I will speak more about vocational training, what we have been doing here in the last 5-6 years. Under the Peace Building Fund project, especially in Jonglei State, UNIDO has been training more than 1,150 in last 2 years. We have trained youth for different skills like blacksmithy, auto mechanic, water pump repair, solar applications, food processing, dairy processing, building, food processing. So not just for the youth, but women groups, I think more than 50% women have been trained, especially on dairy, fish processing and other activities. So like UNIDO has been quite heavily involved in vocational education in South Sudan since 2011, and we are closely working with the Ministry of Labor and also sometimes with other partner institutions like ILO, where we give more emphasis. Like our inputs have been on skills training, and ILO is more on business management skills. So our is technical and ILO is more on business management. And currently also we are starting a new project in Greater Bahari region, especially on value addition and value chain development, where we are trying to work in groundnut groundnut value chain, then rice value chain, leather value chain, fish processing, fish value chain. So these are also to push the local economy, and of course we are targeting more than like nearly 1,000 different actors who will be involved in these different value chains, who will be trained on not on just technical, but as well as non-technical like management and other things. As Madam said, we have to emphasize more on mindset. Still, people don't think the vocational training is first priority. We have to change this mindset of the people so that they think that this technical training is equally important than the normal education. Then only more enterprising youth will come to this sector. Otherwise, not that who don't get education in the mainstream and they are diverting themselves to the vocational training. This change in mindset is very important. Thank you very much.
Hello. Still have time? Yeah. Still have time. Give me just 5 minutes. I want to continue this. Tell you this. What I was doing here in South Sudan. I work in South Sudan since long time, but for some time it has dropped, and we come back recently. We are continuing with in the project, the Peace Building Fund project in Jonglei, and we are caring about the business part. We train youth and women how they can start their own business. And this is something that we have to consider clearly to learn from the other countries around, because we don't go in this way and train people how to start their own business at the informal sector. And that's why we are concentrating mainly on the cooperatives as a way of formalizing the informal sector. If they work as a cooperative, they will get more chance to market their products, to improve their skills, to improve the products itself, and that's what we are doing and working with now. On the other side, we are working with the Ministry of Labor, Public Service and the Human Resource Development in developing what we call Decent Work Country Program. The Decent Work Country Program is a program that's developed with the ministry with the aim of how we can offer work for the youth and the young people in South Sudan in a decent way. And decent way, mainly decent work is a long list, but let us take what is in the beginning. It is fair salary and social protection. This is the most thing, and then we look for the occupational health and safety and other things in the workplace. But let's start with this, and in 6th and 7th of November, we have a workshop to harmonize and to develop and finalize the version of the program for the coming 2 years. I hope that we can invite you all and to attend, and then we can cooperate in that thing. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Shaban Najib Mohammed. I'm based on Islamic institution. I'm working with the Islamic Center for Tourism. Okay, my contribution to that, I think the agenda is very good, it's very clear to us as youth. But what I would contribute on that we need also, today this is a world of, we are in Millennium Global. I think those organizations, please, it's good to give us your websites and communication. My problem is the communication. Because the communication is where we can easily assess what we need. Thank you.
Then young lady? Yes.
Good morning. Anyway, thank you very much for this inspiring day. I have 2 comments and maybe 2 questions will come out of it, and they are all directed to our major speaker, Honorable Minister, and maybe the respondents. We know well. Okay, sorry. My name is Margaret Matthew Matiang. I'm a member of the National Constitutional Review Commission and a former Undersecretary for the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare. We know that our country has gone through a lot of transitions. Honorable Minister mentioned some of them when it came to a transition from the education system in Sudan to South Sudan. I just want to understand, I just want to know from the Honorable Minister, which transition has affected the education system most? We have this multiple transition in the country. We have from liberation to a government We also have the transition of the civil servants, which is still a problem now because there's no pension. And I think Madam Helen knows more about this. So I just want to understand which transition has affected the education system most and what policies are there to address it. And my second comment is in the area of some of the projects that the Honorable Minister has mentioned. He mentioned something to do with transformative agenda, and I was so happy to see Solar Energy Institute as one of the future plans, maybe. When I was working for the Ministry of Gender, I was privileged to interact with many partners who are interested to help the women. And one of the projects that really inspired me is solar energy training for grandmothers. And the request was they have to be young grandmothers, and even in South Sudan, 6 women get married early, 35 you can be a grandmother, and even 36. You know, so they took, we selected like 8 of them and sent them to India. The college is called Barefoot College, Solar Energy College. 6 months, they are not educated, and they came back as solar engineers. If our women can build schools in South Sudan, why can't they be encouraged also this technology, and they can also do wonders. So please, Honorable Minister, if you can put it as a priority when you are addressing issues of transformative programs. Thank you.